The story of Joseph. Long before kingdoms rose and fell, long before empires carved their names into stone, there lived a young dreamer. His name was Joseph. His story is not just the tale of a boy and his family. It is the story of betrayal and hope, of slavery and freedom, of tears and triumph. It is the journey of one man whose life was woven by the unseen hand of God, a journey that would shape nations, preserve a people, and point toward a greater redemption to come. Joseph was born into the house of Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, the man to whom God promised a land, a people, and a blessing for the whole world. Yet in this chosen family, jealousy burned, favoritism wounded, and betrayal cut deep. Out of envy, his own brothers sold him as a slave. Far from home, cast into a foreign land, his dreams seemed shattered. But what men meant for evil, God was already turning into good. In the darkest prison cells, Joseph found the presence of God. In the halls of Egypt's power, he found favor. And in famine, he became a savior to nations. This is not just the story of a young man. It is the story of faith under fire. It is the story of forgiveness stronger than hatred. It is the story of how God writes destiny with both pain and promise. So settle your heart, open your spirit, and journey with me now into one of the greatest true stories ever told, the story of Joseph, the dreamer who became a ruler, the slave who became a savior, the brother who forgave. Now, let us begin.
The sun set warmly over the land of Canaan, where Jacob, son of Isaac, lived with his large family. His tents spread across the fields, flocks grazed under the watch of shepherds, and the air was filled with the sounds of life. Among Jacob's 12 sons, one stood apart, not by strength, not by age, but by the deep love of his father. Joseph, the son of Jacob's beloved Rachel, was born to him in his old age. Jacob's heart was bound to the boy in a way that his other sons could not understand. To show his affection, Jacob gave Joseph a robe unlike any other. It was long, flowing, and woven with brilliant colors that shimmered like a rainbow in the desert sun. To Joseph, it was a sign of his father's love. To his brothers, it was a reminder that they were not chosen. Jealousy grew in their hearts like a thorny vine. Joseph, though young, was innocent in spirit and quick to speak of the visions God placed in his dreams. One night, he gathered his brothers and said, with excitement shining in his eyes, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain in the field. Suddenly, my sheaf rose and stood upright, while yours gathered around and bowed down to mine." The brothers stiffened. Anger flared in their eyes. "Do you really think you will reign over us? Do you believe you will rule us?" But Joseph, naive to their hatred, spoke of another dream. "This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me." When he told his father, Jacob rebuked him gently. "Will your mother and I and your brothers bow down to the ground before you?" Yet deep inside, Jacob pondered the meaning, keeping the words in his heart. But the brothers, they burned with fury. The robe, the dreams, the favor, it was too much. Envy was no longer a whisper. It was a storm waiting to break.
One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers as they grazed the flocks near Shechem. Joseph set out, the colorful robe flowing behind him. He searched until he found them near Dothan. From a distance, the brothers saw him coming. His robe glistened in the sun like a flag of provocation. "Here comes the dreamer," one hissed. "Now's our chance," another whispered. "Let's kill him. We'll throw him into a pit and say a wild beast devoured him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben, the eldest, felt the weight of responsibility. "No," he urged, "do not shed blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him." He planned to rescue Joseph later and return him to his father. When Joseph arrived, greeting them with trust, they seized him violently. The robe of many colors was ripped from his body, torn from his shoulders like the very sign of love being stripped away. With rough hands, they dragged him and hurled him into the pit. The cistern was empty, no water, only darkness. Joseph cried out, his voice echoing in the hollow pit, but his brothers sat to eat their meal as though nothing had happened. Then Judah lifted his eyes and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites approaching from Gilead, camels loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to Egypt. "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood?" Judah reasoned. "Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." The others agreed. They pulled Joseph from the pit, his face streaked with tears, his voice begging for mercy. But mercy was not in their hearts. For 20 pieces of silver they sold him to the traders, who bound him and led him away toward Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and found Joseph gone, he tore his clothes in anguish. "The boy is gone. What will I do?" To cover their crime, the brothers slaughtered a goat, dipped Joseph's robe in its blood, and brought it to their father. "Do you recognize this robe?" they asked. Jacob's face fell pale. His hands trembled as he clutched the garment. "It is my son's robe. A wild beast has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." He wept bitterly, mourning for days, refusing comfort. "I will go down to the grave mourning my son," he said, and he tore his clothes and wrapped himself in sackcloth. Meanwhile, Joseph was carried far away, the land of Egypt rising before his eyes, strange, vast, and terrifying.
Joseph was sold into the house of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. Though he was far from home, betrayed and enslaved, the Lord was with him. Everything Joseph touched prospered. Potiphar noticed and entrusted all that he had to Joseph's care. Soon Joseph ruled over Potiphar's household, managing fields, servants, and possessions. But Joseph was handsome in form and appearance, and Potiphar's wife cast longing eyes upon him. "Come to bed with me," she whispered one day. Joseph recoiled. "No, my master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Day after day she pursued him, but Joseph refused. One day, as he went into the house to attend to his duties, no servants were inside. Potiphar's wife caught him by his cloak. "Come to bed with me," she demanded. Joseph tore himself away, leaving his cloak in her hands, and fled outside. Her desire turned to rage. She screamed, summoning the household servants. Holding up the cloak, she cried, "This Hebrew came to make sport of me. He tried to force himself on me, but I screamed, and he fled, leaving his cloak beside me." When Potiphar returned, she repeated the lie. Potiphar's anger burned, and Joseph was thrown into the prison where the king's prisoners were confined. But even in prison, the Lord was with Joseph.
He granted him favor in the sight of the warden, who entrusted the care of all the prisoners to Joseph. Whatever Joseph did, the Lord made it prosper.
Time passed. In that prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker were confined. Each had a troubling dream one night. Joseph, seeing their downcast faces, asked, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they replied, "but there is no one to interpret them." Joseph said, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." The cupbearer spoke first. "In my dream, I saw a vine with 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed and clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, pressed them into his cup, and placed it in Pharaoh's hand." Joseph replied, "This is the interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand. But when it goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and bring me out of this dungeon." The baker then said, "I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket." Joseph answered, "This is the interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat your flesh." On the 3rd day, Pharaoh's birthday, he restored the chief cupbearer and hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said. But the cupbearer forgot Joseph, and 2 more years passed in the shadows of the dungeon.
Then Pharaoh himself had dreams that troubled him. In the first, he stood by the Nile. 7 sleek, fat cows came up out of the river and grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 gaunt, ugly cows came up and devoured the fat ones, yet looked just as gaunt as before. In the second dream, 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, grew on a single stalk. After them, 7 thin heads, scorched by the east wind, sprouted and swallowed up the healthy heads. Pharaoh awoke, disturbed, but none of the magicians or wise men of Egypt could interpret the dreams. Then the cupbearer remembered. "Today I am reminded of my shortcomings," he said to Pharaoh. "There was once a young Hebrew in prison who interpreted my dream, and it came to pass exactly as he said." Pharaoh sent for Joseph. He was quickly brought from the dungeon, shaved and given clean clothes. Pharaoh said to him, "I have heard you can interpret dreams." Joseph answered, "I cannot, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Pharaoh told Joseph his dreams. Joseph replied, "God has revealed what he is about to do. The 7 good cows and 7 good heads of grain are 7 years of abundance. The 7 gaunt cows and 7 thin heads of grain are 7 years of famine. It is certain God has shown Pharaoh what is coming. 7 years of great plenty will be followed by 7 years of famine so severe that the abundance will be forgotten. Therefore, let Pharaoh appoint a wise man over Egypt and set commissioners to store up 1/5 of the harvest during the plentiful years, so that there may be food in the land when famine comes." Pharaoh and his officials found this plan wise. Pharaoh said to them, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" He turned to Joseph. "Since God has revealed this to you, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Pharaoh removed his signet ring and placed it on Joseph's hand.
He clothed him in fine linen, hung a gold chain around his neck, and had him ride in the second chariot. Wherever Joseph went, heralds shouted, "Bow the knee." At 30 years old, Joseph became ruler of Egypt.
For 7 years, the land of Egypt bloomed with abundance. Grain grew tall and golden in the fields. The Nile overflowed with life, and harvest followed harvest until the storehouses Joseph ordered to be built overflowed. The people marveled at his wisdom. He traveled across the land, ensuring every city was prepared. But then, as Joseph had foretold, the skies hardened. The rain ceased. The winds blew dry and scorching. The earth cracked and the harvests failed. Famine spread not only across Egypt, but across the whole world. Yet Egypt had food, and people came from every land to buy grain from Joseph's storehouses. Back in Canaan, Jacob and his family felt the bite of hunger. "Why do you just look at one another?" Jacob said to his sons. "I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down and buy some for us, so that we may live and not die." 10 of Joseph's brothers went, but Jacob kept Benjamin, the youngest, behind, fearing harm might befall him. When they arrived in Egypt, they bowed themselves before the governor of the land, Joseph. They did not recognize their brother, now dressed in Egyptian splendor, but Joseph recognized them immediately. His heart pounded, but he restrained himself. He spoke harshly through an interpreter. "Where do you come from?" "From the land of Canaan, to buy food," they replied, bowing again. Joseph remembered his dreams, their sheaves bowing, the stars bending low. "You are spies," he accused. "No, my lord," they pleaded. "We are honest men. Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more." Joseph pressed them. He held them for 3 days, then released them, but kept Simeon bound before their eyes. "Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I will know you are not spies." The brothers whispered among themselves, unaware Joseph understood their Hebrew words. "Surely we are being punished for our brother. We saw his distress when he pleaded with us, but we would not listen. That is why this trouble has come upon us." Joseph turned away to weep, then returned and bound Simeon. He secretly ordered that their silver be placed back in their sacks along with the grain. When the brothers discovered this on their journey home, fear struck their hearts. "What is this God has done to us?" Back in Canaan, Jacob, grieving, refused to send Benjamin. "Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. Now you would take Benjamin? Everything is against me."
The famine grew worse. At last, Judah spoke. "Father, the man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. Send Benjamin with me, and I will be surety for him. If I do not bring him back, let me bear the blame forever." Reluctantly, Jacob agreed, sending Benjamin with gifts of balm, honey, spices, and double the silver. "May God Almighty grant you mercy before the man," Jacob prayed, "so that he will let Simeon and Benjamin return. But as for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved." When the brothers arrived in Egypt with Benjamin, Joseph saw them and ordered his steward to bring them to his house. Fear gripped them. "We are being brought in because of the silver that was returned in our sacks," they thought. "He means to attack us and seize us as slaves." But the steward reassured them, "Do not be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." Then he brought Simeon out to them. When Joseph entered, they bowed before him again, and he asked about their father. Seeing Benjamin, his full brother, Joseph's heart burned within him. He excused himself, hurried into his chamber, and wept. He returned and ordered a feast. Portions were served from his table, but Benjamin's share was 5 times larger than the others. Later, Joseph tested them further.
He commanded his steward to fill their sacks with grain, return their silver, and secretly place his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. At dawn they departed, but soon the steward overtook them. "Why have you repaid good with evil? Is this not the cup my master drinks from?" They protested their innocence. "If any of us is found with it, let him die and the rest of us will be slaves." The search began with the oldest and ended with the youngest. There it was, in Benjamin's sack. The brothers tore their clothes in anguish and returned to the city. Joseph confronted them. "What deed is this you have done? Do you not know a man like me can find things out by divination?" Judah stepped forward. "What can we say? God has uncovered our guilt. We are now my Lord's slaves, we and the one who has found the cup." Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who is found with the cup will be my slave. The rest of you may go back to your father in peace." But Judah drew near. "Please, my lord, let me speak. Our father's life is bound up with the boy's life. If Benjamin does not return, our father will die of grief. I myself guaranteed his safety. Please let me remain as your slave instead of the boy, and let him go back with his brothers." Joseph could no longer restrain himself. He cried out, sending all Egyptians away. Alone with his brothers, he wept so loudly that the household heard. "I am Joseph," he declared. "Is my father still alive?" The brothers stood speechless, trembling before him. "Come closer," Joseph said. "I am your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, for God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. It was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, lord of his household, and ruler over all Egypt. Hurry, bring my father down here, and you shall live in Goshen near me, and I will provide for you, because 5 years of famine still remain." He embraced Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Then he kissed all his brothers, and afterward they talked with him.
Pharaoh heard of Joseph's brothers and was pleased. He told Joseph, "Say to your family, bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt." The brothers returned to Canaan with wagons, provisions, and Joseph's message. When Jacob saw them and heard, "Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all Egypt," his heart fainted. But when he saw the wagons Joseph had sent, his spirit revived. "Enough," Jacob said. "My son Joseph is alive. I will go and see him before I die." So Israel set out with all his family, 70 in total, and God spoke to him in visions at night. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make you into a great nation. I will go with you, and I will surely bring you back again. And Joseph's hand will close your eyes." When Jacob arrived in Goshen, Joseph prepared his chariot and went to meet him. As soon as he appeared before his father, Joseph threw his arms around him and wept a long time. Israel said, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive." Pharaoh gave them the land of Goshen, the best of Egypt, and Joseph provided food for his father, brothers, and all their households. As years passed, Jacob grew old. He blessed Joseph's 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, giving the younger Ephraim the greater blessing. He blessed each of his sons, speaking prophetic words over them. Then he charged them, "Bury me with my fathers in the cave of Machpelah, in the land of Canaan." And when Jacob breathed his last, Joseph fell on his father's face and wept. He ordered the physicians to embalm him, and Jacob was carried to Canaan in a grand procession to be buried with Abraham and Isaac.
After Jacob's death, Joseph's brothers feared. What if Joseph holds a grudge and pays us back for all the wrong we did to him?" They sent word saying, "Your father left these instructions before he died. I ask you to forgive your brothers the sins and wrongs they committed against you." Joseph wept when their message came. His brothers fell down before him once more, saying, "We are your slaves." But Joseph said to them, "Do not be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to accomplish the saving of many lives. So then, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them with kindness. Joseph lived to see his children's children. Before his death, at 110 years old, he made the sons of Israel swear an oath, "God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place." So Joseph died, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt, awaiting the day God would lead his people home.